Portuguese, and Aragon is Catalan, but we're all part of this same group. And for example, Granada is Andalusian. By the way, guys, ask questions if you have any. Feel free. And up here, so we can see the different culture groups. And I'll talk about that more later. But it's important that all your provinces are at least in your culture group. If they're not in culture group, you get some disadvantages, which I'll talk about later. Next, sphere of influence. So who's in my sphere of influence? Sphere of influence not only looks cool on a map if you have people in your sphere of influence, but also if anyone tries to mess with them, you can join their war, or you can attack the person that's trying to mess with the people in your sphere of influence. The blue means that I cannot put them in my sphere of influence. They're too powerful in relation to me. And the gray means that they're too far away for me to put them in my sphere of influence. This increases over time, obviously. But the white means that I have the option to put them in my sphere of influence. So I could click on Navarra, for example, scroll down, and I'll talk about this later, and I could expand influence. With them in our sphere of influence, we will get a casus belli against any who meddle with them. So we'll have, so you basically have the right to attack anyone who tries to mess with them. Moving along, Revolt map mode. This basically means if there's any chance of revolt. Right now everything is green, which is good. The green on the sea means that it's free of piracy. Pirates won't come until much later in the game at a certain naval tech, but for now everyone's happy. And usually you'll have a little banner up here which will say if there's a revolution imminent, and you can move your troops there. Colonial map mode, I guess I'll have to talk about later on because we haven't actually seen any, we haven't really explored anywhere. The red basically means that we cannot colonize this area, and the green means that we can colonize in this area. Obviously, though, we cannot colonize, let's say, France, okay, because it's already settled. But white areas, which I don't have, there is no white areas at the moment. White areas that say unknown land, you can send a colonist there and colonize them. So that's basically to show to show how far your range is, and you can increase that range by increasing naval tech. So you can see if I hover over, for example, the Azores, I can see the effective distance is 98 and naval range is 115. So anything over 115 I cannot colonize. It has to be able to be reached by my supply ships, basically. So yeah, so that's the colonial map mode. These large red arrows are trade winds. So if I try to colonize down here, I'll be able to get to colonize here first before trying to colonize westward, because it's harder for my ships to move westward against the winds than it is for my ships to move down with the wind. So when we see the bigger picture, it'll make more sense, I suppose. Going down economical map mode now. This is basically how much we're making from each of our provinces. We can see, obviously, the extreme light green is best. That means I'm making 77.5 from Toledo, which is not surprising since I'm making gold from there. And yellow is medium, and I don't have any red provinces, but red means bad. This type of dark green, and even this lighter green in Madrid, means that it's in the good range. Of course, you can increase this as time goes on with certain buildings, but it really depends on what the province is producing. So Cáceres is making wool, Vizcaya is making iron. Actually, I'm a bit surprised by Vizcaya. Usually iron is a good trade good. But over time, it'll adjust itself, and as we build buildings, this will change. But it's good to know like where you need to make more buildings, where you need to focus on. Moving on, manpower. I'll talk about manpower. It's also shown up here, but this is basically where you have manpower to recruit units. I'll go through that later on, but as we can see, I have more manpower in Toledo because I have a greater population there. I have 26,000 people, while in Caceres I only have 2,500, and Salamanca I have 4,002. So it really depends. But generally speaking, you want a much bigger population, because bigger population, you can tax them more, you can have a larger standing army. So always go towards having a larger population and therefore more manpower. Again, I'll go into more of that later. Fort level is very important when you're at war. Currently, all of Castile is level 1, which is the basic fort. It'll be white if it does not have a fort, or it'll be gray. For example, we can see Sinai does not have a fort. It's level 0, which means that I can just walk in here with a troop and capture the entire province. Or also here, Suakim. While if I want to try to take Brenaga, I'd have to lay siege to the fort, which is level 1. I can, of course, increase the fort level as time goes by, and make it harder for my enemies to try to capture my provinces. We can see here, for example, Avignon is level 3, which is the highest. Not the highest, but it's the highest currently in the game. Paris, Ile-de-France is number 2, Normandy is 2, London is 2, and of course Thrace, the Theodosian walls, is 2 as well. Also up here we can see these are places without any forts.
User entered your channel.
Stability, I'll talk about stability later on. Generally speaking, the darker color places means that it's costing us more in stability, so you want the least. So Vizcaya is 29 in stability cost. Actually, this is probably why we're doing bad economically here, as we could see. And because it's costing us a lot more, we'll probably have to do something about it, because it's stopping us from increasing our stability. Usually our capital, it'll hover around at 21. It depends. For a larger nation, it is harder to to upgrade your stability. I'll talk about this later. Technology map mode is very important. 1399, the Europe is leaving the medieval ages and entering into the Renaissance. At the moment, the rest of the world is actually ahead of us in technology. I'll talk about technology more later, but currently, as you can see, all of Europe is red. We have land technology 3, while Morocco, Algeria, the Ottomans have 5, level 5 for the different technology groups. So we are behind, but we will catch up fast because, as I said, as Europe enters into a new age of ideas, thinking, we'll be able to catch up and eventually far exceed everyone else. Oh, by the way, that's not to mean that as the Ottomans you cannot catch up or be as strong, but for the AI, they will. Hi, who is this?
I am horny.
Okay. Anyway, so that's stability.
No.
Insufficient permissions.
Okay. That's that. That's technology. Moving on to trade value. That's basically the value of our trade. Blue means they're producing gold, so gold does not produce any. So gold does not produce any trade. While yellow means it's doing better, like wool. This will help you decide which trade goods you want. To accumulate in. Supply limit, this is all for your soldiers. So Andalusia is by the sea, so it has a much higher supply limit than Badajoz, which is landlocked, which only has a supply limit of 12. As you can see, I have a soldier here with 8, which means 8,000 troops. So Andalusia can supply 20,000 troops. If I move, if I put a, for example, 25,000 troop army in Andalusia, they'll begin incurring supply limit problems, and they'll start dying off. So always keep your troops in areas where they're well supplied. Buildings, this is basically type of buildings we have. The green will show that it's doing good, red, bad. Currently, all we can have is really marketplace or non-marketplace. Later on, as we advance in technology, we'll be able to build new buildings. Recruitment. To tell you the truth, I actually don't know what recruitment map mode does. I've never used it. I guess it just means where you can recruit troops from. Yeah. Occurring attrition, yeah. Shipbuilding map mode, again, I guess this is the same as recruitment map mode. Basically, you can recruit anywhere in a place that you have a core. Places without a core, you cannot build in. Oh, here, someone's told me. It shows where recruiting is cheaper. Okay. Yeah, so currently we don't have any barraxes, so currently it's all the same. That's why it's all the same color. And I suppose the same for shipbuilding, because we don't have any docks or anything. Missionary map mode is to show where we can send missionaries. Currently, we are all part of the one true faith, the Catholicism. But once we conquer Granada, then we'll be able to send missionaries there. Yeah, so someone's just saying if you build an armory in Madrid, it gets colored, and that means that it's better to, it's cheaper to build troops there. Okay, so I'm going to return to the political map mode, and now does anybody have questions from either the team chat or the chat on Twitch? Any questions? If not, I'll continue. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask whenever. I'm quickly going to go through the rest of the interface. So this is the map mode. Here you can, I don't know, just look around. Just click wherever in the world.
User entered your channel.
We have up here Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire screen shows us who's the emperor. So currently it's Bohemia. It shows us their imperial authority. I'll go into this in more detail later, but we can see the electors and who they're voting for. So Bohemia is voting for themselves. Brandenburg is voting for Luxembourg. Cologne for Burgundy, and the rest are voting for Burgundy. So when the emperor dies, if the emperor dies right now, then Burgundy will win because they have the most votes. If you hover over this, we can see why Cologne is not voting for us, for example. And that's because we have 109 points based on relations. We're not a member of the Holy Roman Empire, so that hurts us 50 points. Legitimacy, trust, diplomatic skill, prestige, and other factors will help us. We might become elected the Holy Roman Emperor. So really, any country that's Catholic and has a king, if you're a republic, you cannot be the emperor, can be elected. So even as us, who is not even in the Holy Roman Empire at the moment, we are good. So that's that. So we can see, for example, Burgundy is rated 268, and we can see the reasons why. And these are all the member states of the Holy Roman Empire. I can also, if I was part of the Holy Roman Empire, I could leave it. If I did leave it, though, I'd have to give up any countries that have a core in my territory. And I can also dismantle the Holy Roman Empire, like what Napoleon did in 1804, I believe. But to do that, I would have to control Bohemia, the capital of Bohemia, and all the electors would have to be my vassals. It's a fun thing to do, so it's an option. Also up here you have Imperial Reform. To cast Imperial Reform, you need Imperial Authority. So for call for Reich Reform, would cost me 50. And if you hover over here, over imperial authority, we can see what it's gained by and what it's lost by.